All right, welcome back. In this last two modules, we will talk about creating a web page. I think this is probably going to be the easiest thing you'll have to do, mostly because we will be using a tool called WordPress, which will make your life a lot easier. But before we begin, I wanted to say a few words about why you should have a web page. And I think that's pretty self-explanatory. You know, anyone that's trying to do just about anything, that's trying to sell a product or something, needs to have a web page these days. If you're a musician, which of course that's the case with you guys, the chances are you're either looking for maybe to get more gigs or to find more students or just to have a place where people can find out a little bit more about you, whether it's listening to the music that you compose or find out what it is that you do and so on and so forth. You can have multiple pages if you do many things. Even as an artist, you might have a page where you present yourself as a member of a particular group, and so that's a very specific thing where people can contact you and listen to what you've done, maybe read some testimonials, and then you can have a separate page where you present yourself as a solo pianist for weddings. So you could have like multiple kind of personalities out there, or it could all be in one place. But I think it's extremely important that you have a web page, and especially in this day and age, being with all the tools that are available to create a web page that really looks quite professional and without you can do this without having any kind of programming training. So I thought the first thing I would do is show you a bit about my own personal experience with creating web pages, which is certainly not anything particularly advanced. I mean, I basically started to create web pages just to create my own personal web page. I mean, I've never made pages for others, really. So, but what I came across is, I mean, I guess through my own personal experience, I suppose I can save you a little bit of time, just because I've stumbled upon some issues and maybe a few, you can learn from those. So the first web page I created, which I don't even know where it is anymore, was a page I made with Front Page, which was an old Microsoft program, which basically was sort of like it looked a lot like a Word editor and allowed you to do all the basic things you do with a text editor, and then put it online, and so you had to purchase a domain, which you normally have to do if you want your web page to have some kind of a name that ends with .com, let's say yourname.com. But you could basically create it and manage it there. But then, I always felt like there were a lot of things that I couldn't do. I didn't feel like I had enough control over what I was doing. And besides, in the meantime, I switched over to a Mac computer. And so I used iPage. Is it called iPage? I don't remember what it's called. It's that program that comes with, I think I got rid of it actually. I think it's called iPage. Yeah, it's that program that comes with Mac that allows you to create web pages, that are simple and it's fine, it works well. But once again, I felt like it was really limited and I really wasn't so happy. And there was just too many things that I couldn't do. And I also at one point had some problems with the file because it creates like a single file, and it just didn't really work so well for me. Which doesn't mean that it shouldn't work well for you, but it just seemed like there were probably better options out there. And so finally I said, well, you know what? I'm just going to go the whole way. I'm going to learn to code in HTML and I'm going to do my website from zero. And so I went online and I looked at a whole bunch of tutorials and I learned to code in HTML, and I literally did that for like 3 weeks, nonstop, and just, learn from zero how to create a web page. And this thing that you see right here, that was the result of that. So I had a home page, and which doesn't open now. Oh, there it is. Well, these are not working now because the website is offline, but these were YouTube videos that will pop up here, and I had like a schedule of events, and I had all these menus here. And needless to say, it took just an unbelievable amount of time to get this to work, because every time I had to edit anything, I would have to go and literally access the HTML code and see if I can show you an example of what that looks like. Let's say I go to the index here. Yeah, so this is what it looked like. So you had all this code, which you had to create yourself. And then, if you wanted to edit anything about it, you had to find where it was, and say, okay, how many pixels high is it? How many pixels low? How many pixels wide? You know, where is it? I mean, it was just quite of a nightmare. Although, if you're like me, kind of a nerd, you don't mind doing some of this kind of nerdy computer stuff. I didn't mind that so much. Except that, what I did realize is pretty early on is that there was some browser compatibility, I can't even say compatibility problems, where I would see the page and it would look in a certain way here, and then I would transfer it or go to it on some other person's computer and it looked quite different. The page didn't quite fit right. And so naturally, because it's not something I do professionally, I got kind of frustrated with that. And then I would see these other people that would say, oh, I made my page with WordPress, and no matter what I open it with, it looks great. I can open it on my cell phone. I can open it on my iPad, and no matter what, it looks great. It fits in and it's perfect. So I started to feel kind of jealous about that. I said, you know what? Even though it seemed like I was kind of cheating to use WordPress, then I realized that that was definitely the solution for me. Me being someone that doesn't have, hours a day to spend trying to maintain a website. Not to mention the fact that the layout that you see here, the colors, you could sort of think of this as a template. This banner right here, I had to create it, and all the colors I had to, for every single page, I had to specify which color it was, and everything was just very, very, very time consuming. And so once I got tired of the way this looked, I couldn't just go in and say, you know what, I'll just change the whole thing. I mean, there are ways to do it, but for someone that's starting out, like I did, it just, by the time it got to the point where I just had it, just going back and remembering what I had done and the language, it just was way too much work. So then I finally got to the point where I said, you know what, let me just try using WordPress. And this is now my new page, which I think is a lot simpler. But what's great about it is even though it's simple, it's very versatile. I can open it in any computer and it'll look great. And it's very dynamic. It'll kind of adjust itself easily to any kind of browser. And so I can very easily take menus, move them around, create sub menus if I want to, and just do all kinds of things. It's really, really much easier to manage, and I'm really enjoying it. And when you edit things, you edit it literally like a word editor. You don't have to, you can access the code. That's the other thing that's interesting about WordPress is it's for your end user as well as someone that has a very advanced knowledge. So you can, if you want to, go in, and if you have the knowledge, really tweak things in very detailed ways. So it's great because you can use it to get started, but if you decide to really get into website, developing or something, you could still continue to use it. You don't have to switch to another program. So it's quite great. And I will say there are two basic versions of WordPress, and we'll get into that a little later. And the one we're going to be using is the free. Well, I mean, they're both free, but the one we're going to be using, does not require that you purchase a domain name, which is what I had to do here. Obviously, for me to have a web page that's called federicobonacosa.com, I have to pay, and then I use WordPress to create the website, but it's actually hosted by the company. In my case, it's Yahoo, where I purchased this, but you can purchase it in other places as well. But I don't want you guys to have to spend any money on this, so the website you will be creating will be a website that has your name at wordpress.com. And then if you later decide to purchase a domain name and so on, then that's up to you. But here's the wonderful thing about WordPress. I can take this entire look, and let's say I get tired of it. I don't like white anymore. I don't like, fractals anymore. I decided that, I want to do more like a wedding gig style. I can just super easily switch the style, and there are many free templates that I can use, and the whole entire layout will change. The menus maybe will go all the way here, and maybe I'll find, and everything will just readjust itself without me having to go in and deal with the code. So it's really, really great. And then maintaining is a piece of cake. You can do it from your phone. You can go into your events and change things and move things around. So this is sort of my the part where I try to convince you that WordPress is the way to go, and hopefully I convinced you. But either way, that's what we're going to be using, and I think you will find it very easy and intuitive and actually quite fun. Let's see if I have anything else to add. Yeah, that's just about it. So we'll see you in the next video.